as we reflect a little bit on the story of David, his leadership, in his life, the triumphs and the failures, we will discover that all of us are human and we need something that is very important, which is called accountability. And so David lived the first half of his life just pouring himself into everything that he was dedicated to, his calling, his mission, his vision. And when he hit the halfway mark, where he now stepped into a structure and he could sort of relax, that's when trouble hits. And so oftentimes as a leader in our life, we are constantly going and doing, but we never take the moment to take care of ourselves. And so David, when he was constantly being pursued, he was running for his life and just on the go, literally. And so he never could take moments to reflect how his moral character or his weak points needed to be addressed. And being in an indigenous community and getting to know indigenous people and actually build a relationship, like I shared my story earlier, where a friend of mine pointed a characteristic in my own life where I needed to slow down, I'm impatient, I'm agitated. And it caused me to have to look at myself. And so when David is now finally at a point in his life where he's just he has time, he doesn't know what to do with himself. So he gets himself in some trouble. And one of the most inspiring ministries that have established very clear principles is the Billy Graham Ministries. And he said three things. There was transparency in their finances. They kept a check on power and fame. And they never allowed themselves to be in the presence of another woman alone in a room to avoid any false accusation that can come against them. And so we see in David's life where he had accountability, and those were the prophets. And the prophet Nathan came and he had spoke a parable, addressed an issue where the anger of David came out against the story where the rich man took the one only sheep that the poor man had, even though he had hundreds of them. And then Nathan said, "You're the guy." And so what do you do when you fail? What do you do when you make a mistake? Do you keep plowing forward? Do you stop? Do you take time to take care of yourself? Or do you just have that principle where you don't let grass grow under your feet? And so the impact of a leader's moral failures on the community and legacy can have deep lasting effect. And so it's very important that we address all our mistakes and errors and understand our limitations and who we are, so that when we're on the battlefield, the bullet isn't the one that's going to get us and kill us or destroy us. And as you read the story and you see that Uriah, he lived a heart that was inspired from David's previous life. He said, "I will not go away with my wife. I'm going to stay with the men. How can I do something like that?" And so you can see his heart and his passion and the way he was living reflected on the inspiration of what David laid down before him. And so as older generation leaders reach a life of comfort or relaxation, but the impact and the drive that they left for the next generation to do the same, they can't rest and relax or take care of themselves. And so that's why we have a mission. The mission fields are full of missionaries that are just constantly being pelted, that are constantly being giving of themselves at the cost and expense of their well-being, the wife's well-being, the family's well-being, and there isn't much conversation about how to take care of ourselves. And we see that those that work in the public sectors or with the greater public audience, like firefighters, policemen, all those that have a lot of contact with people, they need to be taken care of, because the constant contact with people can erode away at our well-being. And so to take care of ourselves, we have to take time aside. We need to go to the mountain to pray sometime, and we need to be in a place of prayer at all times. We need to be constantly able to hear the voice of the Holy Spirit, and we need to constantly know what the Father is doing so that we can walk in that. And what made David a man after God's heart was because he did the will of his Father. He did what he sought the Lord's will, and he did what the Lord wanted. In contrast to Saul, who was instructed what the Lord wanted, but he didn't do it. And so we need to have accountability so that we have people that speak into our lives that have the best interest of who we are. And I think that Indigenous people are the ones that probably can be the greatest counselors, elders, that can give us and help us to reflect when to slow down, when to take care of ourselves. And so when we do fail, we will fail. We need to be the first to acknowledge a mistake like David did and the consequences, and keep fighting, never give up, do your best, and try harder.